What is up, traders? A very good morning and welcome to a new daily market outlook, diving in towards the dollar index first of all. So let's have a look at the market and let's dive in. Alright guys, let's start off with the dollar index. So the dollar index has currently been rejecting its weekly area of supply and has taken out all of the highs. So what's really interesting to see is that we took out this high to absolute perfection, and we also of course took out this high. So we pretty much took out all the liquidity above the highs and are now seeing a dump in towards the downside. So this is pretty much what I always mean with liquidity has been or is being taken, because as we can clearly see, we had this highest high. This high tried to get taken out by this high. And then what do you see happening? This high takes out that high and liquidity gets swept, and you definitely straight away see a pretty heavy reaction. For the rest, this area of supply wasn't that strong anymore. Why wasn't it? Well, as we can see, got filled over here, got filled over here, and then it's most likely that that third time either the zone is going to break, well, as we can see we did, or we are going to push even up higher without rejecting and not faking out on that first high over here. But yeah, pretty interesting to see. So beautiful scenes at the moment. This could mean that the dollar index could see a further dump in towards the downside. Or what I'm really liking at the moment, is the fact that we kind of saw that corrective price action in towards the highs with a 1, 2, 3. Now breaking structure over here. So who knows, we could see a pullback and then a further push down on the dollar index. So let's head over to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar is currently breaking up higher. Pretty nice to see. What are we expecting? Well, we need to break this structural high. Once that structural high gets broken, pull back in towards demand and then look for pretty much some upside continuation. But for that, I really want to see this high get broken. So yeah, and a close above it. That's what I pretty much mean. So with that said, that's pretty much it. Looking at the daily is still bullish. Just keep that in mind. So let's head over to euro dollar. And euro dollar still very, very boring, not interesting in my personal opinion. Quickly diving in towards the 15. As we can see, we broke above this structural high over here, which didn't break this low. So this is still our structural high. So I'm keeping an eye out on this high. As we can see, we already rejected on it, but I really want to see a pretty much continuation above it, and then a pullback in towards some area of demand, and then look for some further upside continuation, because in my opinion, euro dollar is definitely ready for a pullback up higher. However, there's just no clear areas of demand to look for a specific long from. So therefore, euro dollar, just leave it for what it is in my opinion. So with that said, let's go to pound dollar. So yeah, pound dollar, pretty much the same as euro dollar. I think Aussie dollar is pretty much the most interesting one, together with Kiwi dollar potentially. We are looking at pound dollar currently just reacting to some imbalances over here, which aren't even fresh. So yeah, it is pretty much ready for a pullback in my opinion, after such a big dump in towards the downside. So for that pullback, we need to take out this high. This high took out these lows. So yeah, once we see close above that high, see some further upside continuation, preferably even take out kind of this structural area of resistance, then look for the pullback in towards demand, and then look for a further long in towards the highs. Looking at the 1 hour, sometimes I like to look at the 1 hour as well. Then we can see that this is also a very nice structural high, which we want to get broken, see close above it. The best scenario is that we also take out kind of these highs, really see clean break, then a pullback in towards this demand zone, for instance, this sell before the big buy, and then look for further longs. So that's pound dollar. Then we have Kiwi dollar and Kiwi dollar. So Kiwi dollar on the daily, of course, is now bearish. We saw a break of structure. These demand zones aren't valid anymore. So we got a break of structure on this structural low over here, meaning that this is now a strong high. This is now a weak low. Now waiting for a pullback at least in towards this area of supply. Even higher supply zones could be met, but this is the cleanest one for now. So let's keep an eye on that. Looking for a pullback on Kiwi dollar. So what do we need for a pullback? Well, we need to start breaking structure. So where is structure? This is, for instance, structural high, which took out this low. So we now want to see a nice close above this high. Once we see that, then we can look for instance, longs from either one of these two demand zones. Zone number 1, zone number 2. Look for longs once we close above this, see the pullback, then look for further upside continuation, because the daily saw a break of structure, right? So what do we expect after a daily break of structure? We expect a pullback. hence why I'm waiting for a long in towards this area of supply for then further downside continuation. So with that said, let's head over to gold. And gold, so gold just missed out on my daily area of demand, but not of course if you draw it from wick to wick. Took out this structural swing low over here, so some really nice liquidation, and it is now rising. So we could definitely see a further rise on gold. Looking for long opportunities now. Why? Well, because we pretty much broke out of this downtrend over here. So we broke this structural high over here, which took out this structural low. So now what do we want to see? Well, we want to see a pullback in towards this demand zone, or for instance this demand zone, or this demand zone, or this demand zone. So we got a lot of demand zones. So let's wait for a pullback on gold to then look for further upside continuation after a breakout out of that 1 hour downtrend, and a tap in towards that daily area of demand. So what are the ideal areas? Well, looking at the 4 hour, because I trade the 4 hour mainly, we had this area and we have this area. This area of demand isn't fresh anymore as we already wicked into it. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out on this area of demand over here, which is 1890.41 in towards 1879 approximately. So yeah, just keep it in mind, looking for pretty much longs once we pull back. So yep, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to leave a like and subscribe, because we're nearly at the 10k subscribers. Yeah, can't wait to get there. It would really mean the world to me. So thanks, guys, and see you soon.